Hello and welcome to another session on lyrical ballads or criticism. Let's begin lyrical, the preface to the lyrical ballads. So let me summarize or the main points of the preface to the lyrical ballads can be summarized as the purpose of publication of the lyrical ballads, reasons for Wordsworth's unwillingness to write a systematic defense of lyrical ballads in the form of a preface, reasons for the choice of rustic life and language, the distinguishing features of the poems in lyrical ballads, views of poetic diction, the attributes and functions of a poet, the universality of poetry, the superiority of poetry over history and science, his reasons for the use of meter, the poetic process, that is, poetry takes its origin from emotions recollected in tranquility, dangers of altering a writer's feelings and expressions. Finally, the preface closes with Wordsworth's appeal to the readers. Now let's look at these points one by one, or let's analyze them one by one. First two points stated earlier, that is the purpose of publication of lyrical ballads and the reasons for Wordsworth's unwillingness to write a systematic defense of lyrical ballads in the form of a preface, tells us the purpose of lyrical ballads published in 1798. Wordsworth was trying to ascertain whether poems written in the language of conversation of common man would impart pleasure to the reader. The public response to these poems was mixed. Nevertheless, Wordsworth was happy to learn that it delighted a large number of people. This shows that the majority wanted a change from the neoclassical style of poetry which has become uh, degenerated, and a new style. They wanted a new style of poetry. But there were a lot of others who criticized it, and also a set of few others who were confused, which was in fact due to the advertisement that was given by Wordsworth along with the publication of lyrics in 1798. To clear this, some of his friends suggested or advised him to prefix a systematic defense of theory upon which they were written. So Wordsworth was first, he was first unwilling to undertake this defense of lyrical ballads for several reasons. One reason was he. One reason was writing a preface to his own poems seemed an absurd idea. അതൊരു തരം എന്താ പറയാ സെൽഫ് ഫ്ലാറ്ററി പോലെ ആയിപ്പോകുമോ എന്നുള്ളൊരു പേടി അദ്ദേഹത്തിനുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. So he felt that it would be a selfish attempt to win the public response or the approbation of the public through reasoning. ഇങ്ങനെ പിടിച്ചു പറ്റുന്ന പോലെ വാങ്ങിച്ച് പിടിച്ചു പറ്റുന്ന പോലെ to win the public response by reasoning or telling, see, this is what I intended, this is how it has to be done, this is why you would love the poem. So a preface is normally written by somebody else. You don't normally write a preface to your book. Normally, it is written by a friend or a well-wisher or somebody who has read the work. So, writing one's own preface sounded absurd to Wordsworth. Uh, and he had approached Coleridge, S.T. Coleridge, but Coleridge turned down the offer, and he had no other choice but to write a preface. But he was unwilling. He did not want to write a preface. Another reason for his unwillingness, വേറൊരു കാരണം unwillingness അല്ലെങ്കിൽ preface എഴുതാനുള്ള ഒരു മടി അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു unwillingness was because his philosophy cannot be limited to just 14 or 15 pages. This preface will contain maximum of 10 pages perhaps. Okay, so to limit his philosophy, to make the readers understand what he is trying to tell them or convey to them, it is difficult to limit it in the space of a preface. Okay, so that was one or that was another reason for his unwillingness to write a preface. Thirdly, to treat the subject with clarity and coherence. It is very important that the readers or the readers must have an understanding of the changes happening in literature, changes happening in literature over a period of time, the changes that or the society, the changes in the society. That's what we discussed in the beginning of the lyrical ballads, the first video, the lyrical ballads, how neoclassicism, the changes in the society. Charles the First was executed, and the coming of the restoration period with Charles the Second brought in a new trend in the English taste or literature, and that was classicism, because he was mostly in France. So you should have an understanding, the public should have an understanding of the changes in literature because of the changes happening in the society, and not everyone would know that. So that is also a very difficult thing to make people understand this. One should have a thorough understanding of all these changes in the society. So thus he was unwilling to write a preface. Okay. So these are few important points that you should remember or that is discussed in the book by Wordsworth for his unwillingness to write a systematic defense the spelling, to write a systematic defense of Wordsworth, Wordsworth's preface to the lyrical ballads. Now, however, he knew that he had no other choice. To thrust upon the public poems completely different from the poems that were written earlier, the contemporary period, would be too much. Because suddenly he has brought out a change. A sudden change, though the transitional poets were there was they did bring in a little bit of romanticism in it, but that was not very evident. This was like really crystal clear. This was crystal clear, and it was a sudden shift from the neoclassical period of the day, or the type of period, the type of poetry that the people were used to, and therefore he felt that to thrust upon the public or thrust upon the readers completely different poem, the style of poems would be too much, and therefore he had to take up the task of writing the preface to the lyrical ballads, to tell them of his philosophies and to tell them of his the reasons for as to why he brought in this new style of writing, and his theory of various theory about theories relating to the poems that he has chosen, and or the poems that he has written and the themes that he has chosen, which were totally different from that of the neoclassical period. that some of those, uh, the contemporary society, those people who were accustomed, who were used to this flamboyant, very high, stylish phraseology, felt that the poems in lyrical ballads were strange and awkward. He therefore goes on to list the readers as to why he has chosen or he has refused to use this flamboyant style of flamboyant phraseology, phrases in his poems, and instead he has chosen very simple language, the language of the rustics, the language of the common man. So he lists out those reasons as to why he chose humble rustic life rather than the city life. Neoclassical period, everything is to do with the city, the civic life, the city life, the way people behaved, and all those things. So it was mostly glorification of urban life than city life. So his attempt was to reduce stylization in poetry that were used or that was too much that was found too much in the neoclassical poetry, especially in the later years after Samuel Johnson. It was degenerating, too much of style and flamboyant phraseology, and the theme, the content was not important. It was all about how to write poetry, neoclassical period. But when it comes to romanticism, it was about what to write, the content. Passion of the heart find a better soil in which they can attain maturity. That is, the village people or the rustic people are simple, down to earth people. They live depending on nature. Thus, like nature, they are pure and they are not artificial. So, in the city, if you look at the city life, we base it in our day-to-day life itself. If you look at the way people in a village live, they live a very simple, humble, calm life. Whereas the life of the people in the city are not like that. It is hustle. You see the hustle and bustle of everyday busy life. You see the complicated and sophisticated lifestyle. It's not the simple lifestyle that the rustic people or the village people live. And they are the village people. Remember, this is 18th century, so nowadays, even in the village, people are literate. But in those days, that is in the 18th century, 19th century to be precise, they were illiterate folks. People living in the rural life or the countryside were often farmers. They were dependent on farming, agriculture, and they were illiterate and they lived a life, a very humble life, and they were free from all sort of snobbishness that you find in the city. They express their emotions quite bluntly. They don't know how to repress it and act differently when they have a different emotion deep inside. They don't know how to mask their emotion. That only the city people or the literate and the educated people can do. They very well know how to mask their feelings. The simple uneducated person, on the other hand, he does not know how to mask his feelings. He is true to the very core, just like nature. He is very true, very pure. Whatever passion or whatever emotion comes to him, he expresses it. Mm. So his nature is very similar to that of his character, or his human nature is very similar to that of nature itself. Okay. Another reason as to why he chose the rustic or the village life as the theme of his poems is because the elemental feelings coexist in a state of greater simplicity. that, and it is always found in the lap of nature. These simplicity, you find simplicity in the lap of nature. So the basic feeling, the natural instincts, the natural feelings of human feelings and human passions, all this coexist, are in harmony when there is simplicity, or it coexists in the lap of nature. Okay, and so to understand human nature, one must understand nature as such. പ്രകൃതിനെ മനസ്സിലാക്കിയാലേ മനുഷ്യന്റെ സ്വഭാവം മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. And because what we are as human beings, our natural instincts, right? We are also like the animals and the flowers and the natural things around us. We are also creation of nature. So our the basic feelings, the basic elements of elemental feelings, or our basic feelings, coexist with nature, which is in fact a state of, which can be found only in a state of simplicity. Another reason as to why Wordsworth chooses the human passion, or sorry, the Wordsworth chooses rustic life or village life as his theme, is because passions of men are found incorporated with the beautiful and permanent forms of nature. It's all similar points. They are, you find the passion, basic elements, just like that, the basic passions of life, passion of man, the human instincts are also found in, well incorporated in the beautiful and permanent forms of nature. So nature and man, human nature, are interconnected. We cannot separate them. You cannot find human nature, you cannot observe clearly human nature in a society, in an urban city, because that is artificial. City is artificial, man-made things. Whereas man as such, being the creation of nature, to understand man, you have to get down to nature, and that is where the feelings, the human instincts and nature coexist. Only then we can understand human nature. Only when we get to nature. Okay. So Wordsworth chooses the language of the rustics. Now he chooses the language of the rustics because why do you think he chooses the language of the rustics? The language of the rustics are very the rustic people, the village people, അവരുടെ സംസാരം, അവരുടെ എക്സ്പ്രഷൻസ് ഒന്നും ഒരു കൾച്ചേർഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ലിറ്ററേറ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു മനുഷ്യനെ പോലെയല്ല, എഡ്യൂക്കേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള വിദ്യാഭ്യാസമുള്ള ഒരാളെ പോലെയല്ല, വ്യത്യാസമുണ്ട്. ആ ആ ആ മനുഷ്യൻ സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ വ്യക്തി സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ, this rustic people, the village people, when they talk from their heart, മനസ്സിൽ നിന്നാണ്, ഒരു കളങ്കവുമില്ല, പ്യുവറായിട്ടുള്ള മനുഷ്യർ തന്നെയാണ് അവർ. The city people, on the other hand, are crooked, are shrewd, are snobbish. We are complex, we are sophisticated, we have become artificial, and we are removed far from nature. Because all around us we have artificiality in the sense, you have the straight, you have the malls, you have the theater, you have artificial life created all around you. We are far removed from nature, and therefore we lose that basic elements of human nature. Whereas the rustics, on the other hand, they hourly communicate with nature. The villagers, they are fully dependent on nature. They know the soil without even having to look, or without even having to test it. Just by looking at it, they can identify the type of soil. Every wind is familiar to them. The climate signals them. They know what what type of climate is going to give them good yield. The future, and also from all this, they can understand. They are far-sighted also. They can understand the future harvest depending on just by looking at nature. They know their oxen, their dogs, that these animals are their companions. Every creature is familiar to them. So language, if you look at language itself, language is all the language that we use today itself is derived from this various sounds and various forms that from nature itself. Man, it was it is a language itself is a cultural construct. You know that, right? So from where did we get language? Language, obviously, we got it from communities, of course. Where did the communities get this language? So you have to go all the way, and you will find that you will reach nature, and it is from nature that language started to develop, and it started developing, of course. It has it has lost its natural beauty as well. So, language of the common man. Again, I'm not speaking about language as language of a particular community, as of English language, as of Malayalam language. Language. What I mean by language, of course, language is a cultural construct. But even then, the language, what Wordsworth mean by language here is the language of the rustic people, the language of human nature, subjective poetry. He's hinting at that. He's not speaking, of course, there is a slightly he's speaking about the language that is free from artificiality, free from ornamentation, the language spoken by the common man. It's all subjectivity also. It's not just language of a particular community, it's subjective language, human nature, basic human natural language, which is free from all artificiality, high flamboyant phraseology, which can be understood by everyone, not just the literate people alone, which does not have complex symbols, complex personification, abstract ideas, which can be understood by even a common man. So that is the language that he's speaking about here. Another reason for choosing this language is because of their low rank, these rustic people, these village people, they are not high, they are not rich people. Because of their low rank in the society, they are not influenced by social vanity. They convey their emotions, their feelings through simple language. Such language is more permanent, more philosophical than artificial language used by poets in general. So that is why he uses that, or he chooses that language. So the poets, on the other hand, they use artificial language. They ornate their diction, they ornate their poems using high style, putting high style in it. Whereas when you look at the language used by the common man, you will find that his messages, the message that he conveys, the way he speaks to another human, or his brothers, or his to the other people, he is simple. His language is simple, and it is free from all sort of artificiality. He is able to convey his emotions, his feelings through a simple language than bringing it out through abstract ideas. They are free from all sort of artificiality. മനസ്സിനകത്ത് ഒരു കളങ്കവുമില്ല. അവർക്ക് അങ്ങനെ ദേഷ്യമോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സങ്കടമോ ഒന്നും ഇങ്ങനെ സപ്രസ് ചെയ്ത് വെച്ച് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആർട്ടിഫിഷ്യൽ ആയിട്ട് ബിഹേവ് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ they don't know. they just convey their feelings. They don't suppress their feelings. They don't suppress their emotions, and instead, and their language is very simple. They just speak straight at your face what they felt, because they are not artificial. They are free from all sort of vanity, pride, ആവശ്യമില്ലാത്ത അഹങ്കാരം, അഹംഭാവം, അതൊന്നും അവരിലില്ല. അത് കാരണം കൊണ്ട് തന്നെയാണ് അവരുടെ ഭാഷ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവർ പറയുന്ന അവരുടെ കോൺവെർസേഷൻസ്, ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് സിമ്പിൾ, ഓക്കെ, വിത്തൗട്ട് എനി പ്രൈഡ്, വിത്തൗട്ട് എനി വാനിറ്റി. Okay. Such language, according to Wordsworth, is more philosophical than the artificial language used by poets in general. So this is a hint to various trivial themes. He is actually attacking the neoclassical writers. The neoclassical writers, they did not care for nature. They were behind ornate diction. They wanted to, it was all about how to write poetry. They wanted to create, they use big words and ornate words, phrases, and they used a lot of personifications. They used a lot of, you have studied transferred epithet also, right? The neoclassical classicists were fond of these transferred epithets. They used abstract ideas. That their themes were based on very trivial things. ഹ്യൂമൻ നേച്ചറിനെയാണ് കളിയാക്കുന്നതെങ്കിൽ കൂടിയും അവരുടെ ഒരു കുഞ്ഞു ഒന്നീ പൊളിറ്റിക്കൽ എനിമിറ്റി ആയിരിക്കാം, അല്ലാന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ സൊസൈറ്റിയിൽ ഉണ്ടാവുന്ന ഓരോരുത്തർ കാണിച്ചു കൂട്ടുന്ന ഓരോ അഭിപ്രായങ്ങളെ കളിയാക്കിയിട്ടായിരിക്കാം. പക്ഷെ ഇതൊക്കെ ചെറിയ കാര്യങ്ങളാണ്, ട്രിവയലായിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളാണ്. അതിനെ ബേസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടായിരുന്നു അവർ കൂടുതലും പോയംസ് എഴുതിയിരുന്നത്. Whereas the important things in life, how the poor lives, what poverty is, how a common man lives, all these were excluded. That they never touched upon, or even nature was completely, discarded. They gave importance to urban life. So here Wordsworth is hinting at that. He is revolting against the various trivial themes used by the neoclassical writers, and how they put artificial feelings in it, artificial emotions, feelings, using a lot of poetic diction, poetic words to convey very silly things. Okay, so he says that is not poetry, and a poet must learn from what? From the common man. He must use the words of a common man, the language of a common man, which is pure. Again, language does not mean the language of a community. I mean the language that is the language of human nature. Okay, the simple language of simple man, the layman, the ordinary man, which is free from artificiality, which is free from all sorts of snobbishness and vanity, which is free from unwanted poetic dictions and flamboyant phraseology, which can be understood by the ones who read the poems. It's not about only the very literate people can understand. It is, poetry is meant for all, because a poet has a purpose. That's what poetry is about. A poet has an important place in the society. He is molding the character of everyone. He's like, it's next to religion. That's what most of the writers or the critics believe.